Hey everyone, it's Vickerman, and we're coming to you again with Pillars of Eternity. And just wanted to do a quick video about all sorts of things that might be a bit confusing at first to you, but maybe this will help you out with kind of two concepts. Well, maybe we'll get into some more, but the ones that I really want to talk about are area of effect, how it works, and how to use it to your advantage, and also damage over time, as well as some of the things that go along with that, especially for the rogue class and poison and things like that. So let's go ahead and get into a battle. And this may be, won't be too difficult of a fight, I think. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull two warriors to the front of the pack. Have her kind of offside. I do like them to target him, if possible. In fact, you guys should probably just stop. So should you. Okay, that's good. They've all targeted my tank, I think. Well, they're going to very soon. Okay, good. All right, so now area of effect. It works sort of like this. It's a little bit hidden in these menus and tooltips exactly how it works. So let's go to the wizard and check out one of his spells. Okay, so this is Fireball. It's basically the same as any sort of Fireball in any sort of RPG game, and it's an area of effect, burn damage, and it'll be in a certain area and do quite a lot of damage to everything in it, whether it's friend or foe. So let's check out how you tell between, because in Pillars of Eternity there's two sorts of area of effect. There's the area of effect that's going to target everything. Now you can see that when I do this, the red circle, don't worry about the yellow one just yet, but the red circle shows where everything is going to be targeted. So you can see that the little indicators under the characters are flashing when they're targeted by that spell in that particular position. Now obviously people may move before the spell is cast, but this gives you an idea of who's going to be affected. For example, if I did it back here, you know, these guys would probably move forward and it wouldn't hit anybody, because they'll move out before the spell can be cast. So now that is one sort of AoE, which is just labeled as a straight AoE. So whoops, hang on. Targeted my friend with the fireball, just no good. So we'll compare that to, you remember how in the effects it had area of effect for that fireball? Well, this one has foe AoE, which specifically means that it will not affect your allies at all. Like, it may as well not even be there. Although it's kind of strange that they do show him as having it there, but it should not. In fact, I know it doesn't, because I use this all the time. For ciphers, by the way, this is probably one of your most useful things ever, because it will paralyze an enemy and kind of stuck the ones around them, which is extremely useful for crowd control. And it's really low cost to cast, so you'll want to cast that a lot to keep things under control for you. Okay, so yeah, you'll see in the effects that it's listed as foe AoE, which means it's not going to target your friends. Now the nice thing is, with an intellect bonus, your area of effect will increase. So that's shown visually by the red and the yellow. The yellow circle is where your intellect has increased the range of your area of effect. Now, whether a spell is AoE or foe AoE, the intellect boosted area, the yellow that is not the red, is always going to be faux AoE. So you don't have to worry about that affecting your characters who are standing in the yellow circle. So this gives you an idea of, you know, if you want to find the absolute best place to cast a spell, you may want to have your characters in the yellow area, because anything that, for example, this tank here, they're going to be closing in on him. If we put him in the yellow area, then any enemy on any side of him, well, except the back, which I don't think they're going to get there, will be hit by the fireball, but he won't. It'll be great. So you want to think about these sort of things and kind of use this to your advantage for sure, because AoE spells, you know, they tend to be higher damage than the faux AoE for the most part, I've found, because they, you know, there's a trade-off between volatility and danger of using it and the actual damage that it can do. So this is why intellect is extremely important for wizards, because nearly every spell they have is just AoE, not faux AoE. Now, boosting the wizard's intellect by a lot is going to give you a lot more area where you can do faux AoE with the wizard's very powerful spells. So basically, I think there's a good chance, I mean, it's almost inevitable that if I cast the spell here, it's going to affect every single enemy and avoid hitting my friends. Even though that spell is not faux AoE. Okay? So we're going to have you wait. And since you're standing there, you may as well do something like this. And, yeah, so we'll let that go. You see? That worked absolutely perfectly. So yeah, you really got to think about the area of effect, whether it's faux AoE or regular AoE, and those sorts of things. Now, certain wizard spells, I don't know that I have any equipped in this grimoire. And I don't have any, because I do prefer the circle area spells for the most part, but there are some that are kind of beams. Those don't seem to be affected by intellect that I can tell. The cone are, though, with this kind of thing. So yeah, the red area, just like with the circle, the red area affects everyone, but the yellow area is just enemies. So, you know, you can do something like that. And that'll take care of things.
Yeah.
And you see that worked very well.
Slow.
Now, what I just did with the cipher is I used soul blades, or mind blades. And so as you can see, almost all the cipher abilities, which is extremely useful for them, is that they're almost all faux targeting rather than regular AoE. So that makes the cipher very good at casting spells when you have a lot of warriors in the fray who might get hit by a wizard spell. Now what he did was Mind Blades, and it has, it's kind of an AoE, but what it's called is a jump target, and what that will do is it's basically, think Chain Lightning from most RPGs, will hit one enemy and then kind of go over to others. You know what I mean? Kind of jumping from one enemy to the next. And that's exactly what this spell did. And you can see that when I targeted that enemy, it kind of jumped around to all of them basically, because it has a certain number that it can do. And well, there aren't that many enemies here. So that's an extremely nice thing, the jump target. And you can use that again to your advantage. You've really got to think about positioning when you're deciding what sort of spells you want to use, because you know, the circle may not always be the best way to do things. In fact, I need to change to, because if you look at these guys here, they have a very strong resistance to slashing damage, but I'm pretty sure they're weak to crushing. So I'll kind of hover. Well, can I leave it up there? Okay, so you see in the left corner, it says damage reduction 7. Underneath is a sword, which is a symbol for slashing damage at 14. Crushing, it's guessing 4. Piercing is 14 also. And burn is only 4. So in fact, those fire spells that I was using are extremely good for these guys. And you can see those hits did a lot more damage than we had been doing with the sword, because that was crushing. And I think he has a club equipped, which can also do some serious damage to them. So keep that in mind also. That's a little bit off topic, but that again is an important thing to think about, is whether your weapons that you're using are going to be any good. So I'm going to pull out most of the folks, and we'll do a little bit of information about the damage over time stuff, the DoT, as they say. Okay, so this is one of them that I've found that is, I think, really nice, because, and for the reason is that it does raw damage. So if you've looked at damage, kind of the different damage types, raw damage is unique in that it ignores all damage reduction. So it doesn't matter the enemy's defense, you're always going to do the same amount of damage, which can be extremely good, because damage reduction can really cut into how much damage you're doing on the enemy. So when you use this, it will do that over time. Again, it'll tell you how long it will take to inflict that full amount of damage. I'm pretty sure that's how that works. It's not 43.6, you know, every second or something. Or maybe, I don't know. So now the thing to think about specifically with the rogue is that sneak attack will do a lot of extra damage. So it really behooves you to go ahead and inflict a debilitating status on the enemy first. Alright, now this guy is going to be kind of overkill, but it'll demonstrate things anyway. Well, it didn't do too much damage because yeah, so it only did 4 damage there because the weapon she's using, that enemy has a very strong damage resistance too. But oh wait, here's the actual damage. Okay, so the formula there has accuracy minus deflection. So 58 accuracy for the character, 17 deflection for the beetle thing, and then you do the roll and you add it to that, and you get 82, which means it's a straight-on hit for the amount of damage that she's doing, which I'm pretty sure is going to be affected by sneak because he's blinded. Now he has a damage reduction of 30 for that particular type of damage, which I think was probably slashing. Yeah, slashing. So it did 4.2 slash, which I think it's saying there that that's the minimum. So I'm guessing that I didn't realize this. But 4.2, I mean, there must be a minimum amount of damage that can be done. Oh yeah, that's right, because it's something to do with 20%. 20% of the damage is the minimum, and that would be right. So 20% of 20.8 is something like 4.2, seems to be to me. So yeah, that's how that works. It's doing the minimum amount of damage because damage reduction can only do so much. It can't just do a 0. But this is raw damage, so it's going to hit and yeah, and see, it's using accuracy versus fortitude, which really has a high fortitude, so that doesn't do too well. It's kind of nice that it hit because it only did because we had a really good roll of 81. So that does the raw damage. There's no damage reduction, as you can see in the formula. It just does raw damage. Now that means that counterintuitively, enemies that can poison you will often be able to be affected just like anyone else with something like Envenom Strike, which, you know, is kind of branded as poison, but really it's kind of a raw damage, you know. It doesn't have a particular element, we might say. So have no fear of using Envenomed Strike against poisonous spiders. It seems like that would do just as much damage. I mean, assuming that their fortitude isn't so high that it basically doesn't do much. So yeah, that's kind of how all that works.
Of course.
Grab some stuff here. So yeah, I think that those are the main concepts that I wanted to get into today. Oh yes, I didn't do... I mean, I guess it's kind of self-explanatory, you know. Some of them are... Some AoEs are based on your positioning, like the Holy Radiance from the Priest. And as you can see, it does friendly AoE, plus 11.2 endurance, so it's going to do a minor heal on them. And then foe AoE does 16.8 burn damage over 3.5 seconds. Then vessels are frightened for 34.5 seconds. And that's all foe AoE. So the nice thing about this priest ability is it's going to affect allies differently than it's going to affect the enemy. So that is really kind of bonus goodness right there. So keep that in mind as well. So I think that those are the main concepts I'd like to talk about in this video. So hopefully you are doing well in Pillars of Eternity if you've gotten into it yourself. We will perhaps talk some more in another video. See you then.